This video is mostly going to be me talking about my experience as an almost day one player of Fish. I'm going to be talking pretty much unscripted. I'm just going to be speaking my mind about everything that's happened. And along with this, I'm going to mention ways that it could be fixed, things that the devs have seemingly been avoiding fixing, and how the game could go from a dying tyrant to, I don't know, a healthy tyrant, I guess. Oh yeah, and also I'm gonna mention the other game that's kind of surpassing Fish. So, Fish has changed a lot in a very short amount of time. From its release late last year to now, it's just really not the same game at all. The game kind of went from a casual hangout game where you can fish and,
Bro, what are you
get some
talking
cool
about, man?
stuff to a microtransaction riddled mess. If we look back to where the game started and Fish Fright, which is the first event that ever happened, it was so much simpler. There was no meta. None of the rods were super good, and the original creator of the game, Nate, stated that he intended it to not have any linear way to get to the end of the game. There wasn't an end. On top of that, there wasn't any fish that everybody wanted to have like there is now. Like with every update, there's the megalodon, the kraken, the Scylla.
Skyla. Scylla.
Back then, even during Fish Fright, when there was Nessie, that wasn't even very sought after. People weren't grinding to get it every day. It was just a thing at the time, from my knowledge. So, back in my day, rod progression was like you would go from the flimsy rod, then the carbon rod, then the steady rod, and then it was endgame after that. After steady rod, there was only like one more rod you would need. When the game first came out, the mythic rod and the king's rod were both known for being um endgame rods, like the last rod you would ever need. And they weren't even that good really. I mean, you couldn't use just the mythic rod or just the king's rod because one was only for money and didn't have good stats, and one was only for catching really big fish and didn't get you much money. Now, it does make sense that as the game progresses and new rods get added, there are going to be some that are like all rounders. It really just makes sense. But at this point, there are some rods that you really wouldn't need anything else if you had it. Even just the Heavens rod, like that's such a well-rounded rod. It's like realistically that's the last rod you would need unless you wanted to be extra, which most people do. But if we go back to the start, Fish Fright, the first event and really the only event that felt, I guess, it just felt like it was made by a human. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, Fish Fright was probably one of the most unique events because everything after it was either based off of Fish Fright or it was, I mean, really, every other event has just been Fish Fright reskinned. Like, there's always one fish that everybody wants, just like Nessie. They're just trying to, seems like they're trying to recreate the hype. So, I'm pretty sure shortly after Fish Fright ended, the game got sold to Do Big, the creators of mainly Blade Ball. That's like their biggest game. And when they first bought the game, they claimed that they would not make it a money-hungry mess of a game like Blade Ball is. And initially, they seemed to keep that promise. A lot of the updates shortly after Do Big bought the game were like honestly really good. They felt pretty genuine. But around this time was also when people, after the Desolate Deep update, people found out about Aurora totems. It was the only way to make an Aurora happen, which was supposed to be the rarest thing in the game. It wasn't supposed to be normal, I assume. So they added that, and people who were already done with the game only bought Aurora totems, because what else are you gonna do? And that was like the beginning of the end almost. So people started to always have Auroras, and that meant that none of the rare fish were rare. And already at this point, fish were starting to become less rare, period. Having auroras all the time creates instant gratification, and instant gratification is when you can't handle waiting for something. You have to get it right away. So playing the game normally is unbearable now for most people, including myself, unfortunately. Which is good for Do Big because that means people want to spend more time and more money getting auroras. I forgot to mention that getting rare fish more often gives a dopamine rush to people because it's exciting to hear the mythical ding and the pink icon. And like any other addiction, you want to keep recreating that same feeling even though it stops working. The player base of casual people is going to drop because of that. So the game already at this point, where we're at the point of Ancient Isles and the depths, the game had already changed a ton. It didn't feel like the same game at all, I'm gonna be honest. From my experience playing around the time of release, already at that point, it literally was difficult to compare. And at that point it was fine because it was pretty cool that the game was so different. But also at this point, people were starting to get more fish in their inventory. People were collecting more things. They wanted to collect shinies or exotics when they got introduced, or megalodons, you know, all of the cool fish, as well as special mutations that were hard to get, like Sunken and Aurora. So that meant people's inventories were filling up with fish, and if you guys don't know this, let me just show you right now. The inventory tends to cause some lag. So if you have a lot of things that you don't want to get rid of, like me, like an unbearable amount of exotics and limiteds, then sorry, there's a cat crawling on me right now. Then pretty much you cannot play the game unless you use the camera icon to remove your HUD. So I'm sure this has caused the player count to drop over time because it's like genuinely so difficult to play the game when you can't play it unless your inventory is gone and you can't click on any menu options. When you're fishing, you have to be like this. When you're doing literally anything else, you have to be like this. And at first, people kind of dealt with it. They figured maybe it'll be fixed soon. But as people start to realize that Fish is not fixing this issue, they don't seem to care. I'm pretty much positive that that has probably caused a huge drop in players. And on top of this, not so recently, I don't even remember when, they actually removed the ability to see your frame rate. Wait. Okay, it would usually be this. Okay, I'm just now finding out that server info doesn't work at all. Usually you can see where your server is located and your frame rate down there. They removed the frame rate. I don't know if that's because it was embarrassing. And then apparently now it just doesn't work at all. Now over time, from release to now, new bugs have slowly been appearing each update. A lot of them have been fixed, which is nice, like the major ones. But a lot of smaller bugs have slipped past and they've been completely forgotten about. So I assume when new players start to play Fish, they will look in the settings. They might be like, okay, let me change these settings up because I don't like what's happening right now. And then they find out that half of them don't actually work. I don't even know if they have an option to mute radios, but it really sucks for streamers and YouTubers because they can't use any footage or get any money if somebody's using a radio that's literally playing the Raining Taco song because that's copywritten. At certain points, I think all of the audio settings have broken at one time or another. Performance mode right here. I've had it on for ages now, but it actually doesn't make a difference for me because shadows is not what causes my lag. It's the inventory. Just stuff like that. It just adds to the pile of things that make the game less desirable. So now going back to when Do Big said that they weren't going to add a bunch of microtransactions and make it money hungry. Like I said, they kept that promise for a long time. And I mean, I'll give it to them. It was a while before they started adding stuff, but from my own knowledge, my own little noggin, they added server luck around the time that the Ancient Isles update came out. Now it's not necessarily pay to win because you're paying for everybody in the server to win. If we ignore the ridiculous prices down here really quick, this was the beginning of everything below it. So people were already complaining about server luck being viable. And I didn't mind that much, but I kind of just didn't realize the issues that it would cause. And eventually they started to sell limited bundles. They just kept adding cosmetics. Now, cosmetics are not pay to win, and They promised they wouldn't make the game pay to win. But with the most recent update, they added eggs, which, this guy's literally everywhere, and he's like way more flashy than any other NPC. He's the only one that's really moving a lot. And he is, I think, the first major addition that would count as being pay to win. And I know a lot of content creators actually have been buying from this guy because getting the eggs normally is super annoying and nobody wants to do it. I personally haven't bought any of the eggs because I'm very stingy with my money. I don't like to spend a lot of money. But being a content creator, I have bought quite a few things from this game. None of them really adding to any advantage. But with the addition of things that you can buy, it makes the game feel a lot less, makes the game feel less sincere. It makes it feel like, I guess, the game doesn't have as much love put into it. It's more for money than love of the game. But I also think if they continue, they're going to lose their game. They're going to be making so much less money the more money they try to get. I remember back when Fish Fright was happening, the only goal really was to fill out your bestiary. Getting to the final rod, which is the King's Rod, I actually never got the Mythic Rod, which is really weird. It wasn't that difficult to get to that point, so finishing your bestiary, which wasn't that hard because none of the fish were broken on release, it was actually kind of fun. Now, I've been yapping, which I did say that I would do, but it's been going on a little bit too long. So let me get to probably my final point. As you probably know, there's a game called Dead Rails on Roblox right now, which somehow is the next gigantic thing. No! Honestly, it has a ridiculous amount of similarities to Fish, because on release right now, Dead Rails, it feels like a solo project. It feels like it has passion put into it, just like Fish did at the start. I mean, I feel like Dead Rails could easily have the same fate as Fish if they get bought up or anything like that. Also, Dead Rails, personally, I have legitimately no idea how so many people are playing it. Like, I think I played it for 3 rounds and I beat it, and after that it had no replayability. I mean, especially with how attention spans are now, I don't understand how you can play a game like that for hours on end. But that's not to say it's a bad game. I had loads of fun when I was playing it at first, and I do still play it every so often. A lot of content creators and a lot of Fish players are likely moving to that. They're going from Fish to more popular games now because Fish is slowly decreasing in player count and popularity. So that pretty much brings us to the present day situation, where it seems like a very, very messy game. Most of the updates are not quality of life. They're adding more ways for money to be made, and this is definitely making players less interested, including myself, unfortunately. So if they don't start to change it up, well, we can pretty much guarantee the game is going to die out.